मास्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकि कोकिलम्। ऋततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। So last week we covered the Janasthana battle. We saw the arrival of Surpanaka and what happened to her when she tried to separate Rama and Sita. You see the character of one more story, one more person who is going to try to separate Rama and Sita, and what happens to him. But last week when we were covering, we noticed the story of Surpanaka and all of the stuff that happened with her. We also noticed that the Janasthana battle, although it seemed like something that happened in a span of barely a little over an hour, in terms of the level, the amount of deaths, the number of Rakshasas that came in, and the fierceness of the battle, it was arguably fiercer than the whole Yuddhakanda and the main battle that we will see later. And finally, we concluded with Sita's mental state, how she was feeling before the battle, and how she felt after the battle, and we kind of we saw that whole incident. Now Surpanaka she is also seeing that whole battle, but then she goes away from there, and she figures it's now time, because she had not anticipated that the whole 14,000 army of Rakshasas, Khara, Dushana, who were really Rakshasas who were so terrorizing this entire Aranyam and this whole Dandaka forest. They had been, Rama did not even have a chariot to stand on. It was not like he was armored, he had an army. Not only was he single-handed, but he was standing on the ground, and these people were shooting from somewhere. So she was so shaken from the whole episode that she rushes straight away into Lanka. So now with this 32nd Sarga, Rishi Valmeehi starts to kind of describe Ravana. It's almost like in a movie, the director, if he's showing a villain or something, he won't directly go to the face. He will start to show from the side how the place was, how he was sitting. That's almost like that, like a cameraman adept at showing the different aspects. He starts to describe. He says, Ravana's, even before they show his face, he says, it was a lofty, imposing, magnificent, but a very domineering, cruel and terrorizing personality. Right? So he says, the radiance that is emanating from Ravana is almost fiery, and his presence was imposing like a mountain. And then slowly starts to describe his physical appearance: splendid shoulders, clean white teeth, ear pendants were made of gold which were purified in fire. And then he starts to describe what were his qualities like. He says, Deva Gandharva Bhutanam, Rishinam cha Mahatmanam, Ajayam Samare Shuram, Vyattananam Nivantakam. He says he was invincible in any fight. So he had fought against Devas, Gandharvas, Rishis, and his presence was like death, with wide open jaws, ready to gobble anybody that comes his way. Okay? And then his face, he says, Vishad Bhujam Dashagrivam Darshaniya Parichadam. Okay? He says he had 20 arms, 10 heads, imposingly wide chest. He had all the marks of royalty and all the surrounding paraphernalia that were almost like it was quite a sight to watch. And then it was describing further his body. He says this Ravana had been struck hundreds of times by Vishnu's chakra, because in the war he had with the Devas, he has been wounded. He says Vishnu chakra nipataishcha shatasho deva samyuge. So Hundreds of times he has been hit by that, and many other, Indra's, Vajra, all of that has gone and hit him. So he's a man who's not just like I'm powerful, but I won't enter into battle. He has gone, he has fought, he has taken all the, as they say, the battle scars. He has had all of that, and in spite of that, he has managed to come out invincible. So, as a leader, as a king, as a warrior, you could see that this man was not an ordinary warrior. So if you are going head to head with him in any battle, he is not an easy person to, on all of that count, personality, appearance, his the level of aggression, the fact that he has been through many such battles and still come out invincible, he is someone that should not be taken lightly. But then Valmeehi also adds, he had absolute disregard for dharma, and especially he had one weakness. He says, Uchchetaram cha dharmana paradara vimarshanam. So he was particularly fond, he was particularly attracted to the wives of other people. So Ravana had a track record, and it goes on later in terms of giving some examples of other people's wives. So he was, as a warrior, as a king, very mighty personality. But one weakness is particularly attracted to the wives of other people. What were his hobbies? What did he do in his pastime? Yajna vignakaram sada. Okay, so he habitually ruins yajnas. He loves. So if the people are doing yajna, no. We should come and destroy. We should not allow yajnas to happen. Because what are yajnas? They say this whole universe is like a. It's like we may think that rain. Sometimes it rains. It doesn't rain. It's all random. But they say this is all a proper circle. If everybody in the universe does their duty as anointed to them, then the whole universe works not as a chaos but as a cosmos. We as humans are the only one who tend to disrupt. Otherwise, every other being in this universe is doing their bit. Whether it is the earthworm that has to do what it has to do, the bee that has to go and pollinate, the sun has to rise, the earthquake, even forest fires that we may not understand have a role to play. Because forest fires, volcanoes we were talking about, they end up making the soil so rich. So when you think about, not from a 3 months or a 5-year horizon, but when you look at it from the perspective of the universe, each of these have a certain role to play. When mankind tends to disrupt and not follow the law, the nature's law, that's when we see calamities. But they say these yajnas, in that sense, when we offer and we do our bit, that then helps. In the Gita, Bhagavan talks about that causes the rains, that then brings prosperity. Through the fruits of that prosperity, we then offer it back. So we are all contributing to this whole circle of life. So, but coming back to Ravana, he had captured the city of Bhogavati. How he had defeated Vasuki. He had abducted the wife of Takshaka. Takshaka was the serpent. We will see about him in Bhagavatam. He had abducted Takshaka's wife. He had defeated his own half brother Kubera, and through him he had captured the Pushpaka Viman. So he says, that the Pushpaka Vimanam was not just an aeroplane, but it was a flying chariot that could travel at one's will. So you don't need petrol, you don't need to worry about electric charging, nothing. You can decide where you want to go, it will take you there. Right? Now, when he gets really angry, what does he do? Vanam Chaitra Ratham Divyam Nalinim Nandanam Vanam Vinashayati Yak Krodat Devo Dhyanani Viryavan. So when he gets really angry, he destroys nature. Chaitra Ratha, Nandana, all these different celestial gardens, lotus ponds, those are the things he doing. So Valmeehi is now slowly portraying physical appearance, what were his weaknesses, and as a person and personality, what all kinds of things he has been doing. What powers did Ravana have? Chandra Surya Mahabhagav Uttishtantav Parantapo. With his very hands, he could obstruct the movements of the sun and the moon as they rose. So such was the amount of tapas that he has done, that sun is rising, he can say stop, or I'm going to change the position. That much control he had on the movements of the universe. How did he get that kind of power? Because he had done tapas apparently for 10,000 years, and he had offered his own head to the self-born, so to Brahma. And what did he ask for in that? When he had done that, such an intense tapas, he, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, all three had done it. What did Ravana ask for? He says, Deva Danava Gandharva Pishacha Patagora Gaihim Abhayam yasya sangrame mrityuto manushadrite. He says, in any fight, I need to be immune from death, from all beings, Devas, Danavas, Gandharvas, Pishacha, Pataga, Uragas. He didn't even consider worth asking immunity from human, because it was like far below his dignity to say, when such powerful forces cannot, it's almost us if we had a boon to say, I should not be killed by an ant. It wouldn't even cross our mind. Where is the question of getting killed by an ant? It's a bit like that. So such was his progress, and that's why he could go and fight all these wars and win them, because he had gotten effective immunity that you just cannot kill me. So the game is already lopsided. I'm anyway going to win. Right? He was cruel, harsh, compassionless. He destroyed yajnas that were almost complete, killed brahmanas, committed terrible deeds, and he indulged in harming people all the time. So that is the description of Ravana as Surpanaka's entry. Now there is also the story does not come in Valmeehi Ramayana, but it comes in Srimad Bhagavatam as to what is the origin of Ravana. We'll talk about it briefly. So whenever you visited any Vishnu temple, you will see two Dwarapalakas, so two attendants on the side. So they are called Jaya and Vijaya. So the story goes that in Vaikuntha, they are out there to guard the gates of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha, who is in there. One day the four mind-born sons of Brahma, the Sanat Kumaras, they have entered Vaikuntha and they want to go and meet Vishnu. Now these Sanat Kumaras are really powerful, and they have lots of tapas, but they look really like young boys, such as their appearance. So they say, we need to go in and see the Lord. And they say, what? You're not even looking like some great sage. He said, nothing doing. The Lord is taking rest. You cannot meet him. They say, how is that possible? The Lord is always available for his devotee. Who are you to stop? And then there is an altercation that happens, and then they kind of, the Sanat Kumaras curse these Jaya Vijaya to say, you have got too much arrogance that you are, guarding the gates of Vaikuntha. So you are effectively deciding whether who can go in, who cannot. This arrogance is not fit for your visit. You will go back to earth, and you need to spend some time there. So in that panic and all that commotion, Lord Vishnu comes out, and then Jaya Vijaya explains this is what happened, and they seek forgiveness. Vishnu says, I cannot take the boon away, but I can make one condition. You can either have a large number of lives in earth, and then you can come back to me, you can be my devotee, and slowly, go through the chapter 1 life, 1 experience, all that. Or if you want a fast track green channel option, you can have 3 lives where you are extremely wicked, you are causing a lot of damage, and I will come personally and kill you in these 3 yugas, and then you will come back to me. They say, okay, that is also fine. We have no intention to take the long path. Like in IKEA, when you go, you can take this long, winded all the aisles. We don't want to do any of that. We would rather do that. So Jaya Vijaya come back in Satyuga as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and the Lord takes the Varaha avatar and Narasimha avatar and kills them. In the Treta Yuga, which is this Yuga where the story is happening, they are reborn as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, and the Lord comes as Rama avatar to kill them. And in the Dwapar Yuga in Mahabharata, they are reborn as Dantavaktra and Shishupala and Dantavaktra, and Lord Krishna, in that the Lord comes in the form of Krishna avataram and kills them both and takes them. So goes the legend. Slight detour, but it is helpful to understand that again from a devotion and bhakti perspective. Probably one of the few cultures or dharmas where we say, in any way, in any emotion, you think of the Lord. Like they say Kamsa was so fearful of the Lord, and he was so angry that in a way the mind became so single pointed. Even through that bhava of hatred and fear, the mind was always thinking of the Lord. Even that route is possible. We don't need to take that route, we can take the long route, that's fine. So Surpanaka now goes in, and she is immediately starting to instigate Ravana and say, he says, Ravana, you are sitting here and you are living like, no one to guide you. You are indulging in luxuries and pleasures. You have no idea about the danger that has arisen. He says, Kama Bhogeshu, okay? Samutpannam Bhayam Ghoram Bodhavyam Nava Buddhyase. He says, you have no idea. It's like you are a king who has no clue of what is going on in your kingdom because you are so indulging in Kama and Bhoga. Okay? He says, Katham Raja Bhavishyasi. How can you survive as a king? And she goes to tell him, he says, you know why you will not survive? Because your mind is fickle. You don't have intelligent agents who are keeping track of what all is happening. And your only thing that you are doing is you are antagonizing the Devas, Gandharvas who are steady and capable. How can you survive, O Rakshasa, as a king? Because you are immature, you lack wisdom, and you don't know what should be known. And Ravana sitting through all of that, you can imagine all that imposing personality sitting and listening to her rant about. He says, Chaturdasha Sahasrani Rakshasam Krura Karmanam Hatan Ekena Ramena Karashcha Sahadushanam. 14,000 Rakshasas who have been capable of dreadful acts, including Kara and Dushanam, were killed by just one man, Rama. And by doing that, the Rishis have been freed of their fear, Dandaka has been made safe, and Janasthana has been challenged by Rama, who does things with extreme ease. But Ravana, what do you know, Ravana? Because you are indulgent, you are in deep slumber, you depend on others, and you are not aware of danger that is arising around you itself. And then Surpanaka decides, he's saying, I'm giving him all these things, he's not getting instigated. So she tries another route. She says, Ravana, do you know what a good king is like? A good king has got virtues. He has got mastery over his senses. He's got gratitude. He says, Aparamattascha yo Raja, Sarvagnyo Vijitendriya. He's got great control over his senses. Kritagyo Dharmashilascha, Sa Raja Tishtatecha. That Raja only, people respect, because who's got Vijitendriya is not letting loose his senses. He is Kritagnya. He's got gratitude. He's Dharmashila. He will follow Dharma. And he says that a good king has to be vigilant. He has got to know everything that is happening around. He has to bear a sense of gratitude. Now all of that, Ravana is showing no anger, only a sense of curiosity he comes. He says, who's this Rama that you have described? Kascha Rama Katham Virya Kim Rupa Kim Parakrama Kim Artham Dandakaranyam Pravishta Sudurasadam Ayudam Kincha Ramasya. Who's this Rama? How does he look? What is his strength? How is he striking? Why has he entered this Dandaka forest, and what weapon is Rama using? So, starting to get, and then Surpanaka starts to describe, saying he's a son of Dasharatha, he's so handsome, like almost Manmata or Kamdev, long arms, broad chest. She gives all of that, and she said, in that battle, Ravana, I could not even see when Rama was taking those arrows. Like we gave that example last time where Kalidas says it was almost like 14,000 Ramas were fighting 14,000 Rakshasas. He didn't feel like he was even putting his hand back, taking the arrow, aiming it. Such speed I could not see in all of that what was happening. All I could see was the army is falling in that torrent of arrows. And then she starts to change. He said, but you know what? There was one more lady with him. Ramasya tu Vishalakshi Purnandu Sadrishanana Dharmapatni Priya Bhartahu Nityam Priya Hite Rata. Rama's lawful wife, wide eyes, face like full moon. She is the love of her husband. She has a lovely figure, hair, shapely nose. She shines like the Devata. She is almost like another Mahalakshmi. Okay? And her name is Sita. She is the princess of Videha. And again, she describes gold complexion, high nails. Her waist is slender. I have never seen Naiva Devi na Gandharvi, na Yakshi na Chakinnari, Naivam Rupa Maya Nari, Drishta Purva Manitale. I have never seen a woman of such beauty. And I roam around so much. I have seen Gandharvas, I have seen Yakshas, I have seen Kinnaras. She would be the perfect wife for you, and similarly you, her husband. When I tried to carry off that woman so that she could become your wife, Surpanaka says, I was disfigured by the cruel Lakshmana. So no need to talk about all the other things. Let's come, as they say, don't spoil a good story with reality. So she is given her own masala of what actually happened. And she said, if you see that lady whose face is so radiant like the moon, you will succumb as well, Ravana. And if you feel like taking her as your wife, now you put forth your right foot without delay on the way to victory. Okay. So Surpanaka has given a long description. She starts off with what has happened. She says why Ravana is not a good king. She then tells about all the damage that is being caused. She tries the dharma angle. She describes Rama's valor. And why does she finally come and talk about Sita? Any ideas?
To tempt Ravana.
But why? She has tried all of these other things. But why finally she has to kind of come to Sita?
Jealousy?
One is jealousy, but also she realizes that Ravana is an extremely self-centered person. He has no care for his soldiers dying. He has no care for his own brothers dying. Khara Dushana. He has no care that his own sister has been disfigured. He is the kind of person who has killed his own sister's husband. So Ravana, for all of these characteristics, only cares about what is in it for me. And she knew, Paradhara, as we had said earlier, that Ravana, there is one thing that matters to him. It is what am I going to get? If people around me are dying, all that I don't care. So she knew, Surpanaka knew that Ravana is so self-centered. I have to put a bait that for him to act, there should be something for him. He is not going to act merely out of, oh my God, he has killed my people, and as a king I have to do, or as a brother I have to do, none of that. So then Ravana starts planning. He said, okay, now you've told me something that in all of this, the thing that has attracted me is all this description of this lady that you've told me. He thinks about, do I just go and abduct her? But after having heard and he thinks if this person can indeed kill 14,000, then maybe it's not a good idea. He thinks about, he analyzes his opponent, what are his strengths, proper SWOT analysis and all Ravana does. And then he decides, I think we might need to take a different tactic. And Ravana takes his Pushpaka Vimanam, flies all the way through Lanka, comes into a place where, and near a Negroda tree or a banyan tree, one person is meditating. And that person is his own uncle Maricha. Okay? And he comes there and he says, Mariche Shruyutam Tata Vachanam Mama Bhashata Arthosmi Mama Chartasya Bhavanhi Paramagati. Maricha, dear, hear out the words I am going to say. I am in great distress. Okay, he says, you are the only hope for me, Maricha. And then he starts to describe everything that went on in Janasthana. And then Ravana portrays Rama. How does it? So we saw how Surpanaka has portrayed, so many people have portrayed. Ravana's portrayed. Dushshila, Karkashastikshano, Murkha, Lubdho Ajitendriya, Tyakta Dharmo Yadharmatma, Bhutana Mahite Ratah. He is wretched, he is ruthless, he is extreme, he gets angry very soon, he is greedy, he is stupid, he has no control over his senses. Who? Rama. Said by Ravana. What has he done? He has abandoned dharma and he indulges in causing menace to all beings. Why does Ravana? Why so? Because without any provocation and simply because he has got the strength, he disfigured my sister by cutting off her ears and nose. Now what I am going to do, this kind of a person should not be fought straight in battle. I am going to forcibly carry off from Janasthana his wife Sita. And once I do that, then I know Rama will get emotionally very disturbed and weak. Then that will be a chance for me to attack him. So you are unrivaled in strength, you are of great valor, and you are an expert in every kind of trickery. So he says, Sauvarnastvam Mrigo Bhutva. So now you take the form of a golden hued deer, Maricha. That is your expert, you can take different forms. You put nice attractive silvery spots. You move around the ashrama of Rama in front of Sita. Once both of them are away, somehow when Rama and Lakshmana will go in search of you, then I will abduct Sita. He gives the example of like the Rahu abducts the moon, like almost like during the eclipse. And when Rama is weakened, then I shall strike comfortably and effectively. No point in raging a battle given 14,000 of my people are already hurt. So they say all of these things he has described, but from Maricha's perspective, the moment he heard the word Ra of Rama, after that nothing else actually he registered. Because after having been hit through that Vishwamitra at the time when he had fought that battle and being thrown so far from Rama, who was then 12 years old at that time, Maricha had already had decided I'm not into any of this, and he was doing this. So Maricha now says, "Oh Ravana, Sulabha Purusha Rajan Satatam Priyavadin." It's always easy, Ravana, to find people who will say things that are pleasing to your ears. But when it comes to bitter truths that are not so pleasing, not many will venture to say. So I am going to tell you that. He says, you do not seem to know Rama. You've given this description, Dushshila, somebody who gets angry, who does not know Dharma. You are imagining things, you are lacking intelligence. Let me tell you who's Rama, because I hope in everything that you are doing, Rama does not get so enraged that he decides to eradicate all the Rakshasas in the world. Why? And this lady whom you are trying to bring, you know who she is? I think this daughter of Janaka, I hope she is not born to bring an end to your life. Okay? And I hope I will not have to fall into trouble because of Sita. Okay? And he then starts to say, he says, Api tvamiksharam prapya kamavrittam nirankusham. Your kamavrittam, you are so attracted to lust that I hope na vinashyet puri lanka tvaya saha rakshasa. Having got a wayward like you who knows no restraint as its king, I hope the city of Lanka with all the Rakshasas do not perish along with you. And then he says, I will tell you who's Ravana. He says, Nacha pitra parityukta. He says, Nacha kshatriya pamsana. Nacha dharma gunairhina. He says, he is not the kind of person who has been abandoned by his father. Rama is not the one who lacks restraint. He is not greedy. He is not of bad character. He is not a wretched kshatriya. He is the delight of Kaushalya. He does not lack dharma or virtues. He says, Rama, na Rama karkashastata anritam durashrutam chaiva. He says, he is not a savage. He is not unlettered. He is not a master of his senses. Naivatvam vaktu marhasi. Ravana, stop spreading lies and slander against Rama because you don't know who he is. Okay? He is Vigrahavan Dharma. He is the embodiment of Dharma. Sadhu Satya Parakramana. He is the man who is of true valor and he is decided to protect all the rishis. Raja Sarvasya Lokasya. He is the king of all the worlds. Just like Indra is the king of all the devas. Okay? So, how can you even think of snatching Vaidehi? And Maricha tries to advise Ravana against all of these things. I hear your plan, but I don't think you should try because it is almost trying to snatch sunlight away from the sun. Can you even dream to do that? And that's the kind of thing you are attempting. So please don't rush headlong towards death. You are not capable. What is the point of this futile effort? Okay, it's a completely vyartham. He says, don't even bother trying this. It would be the end of your life when he sets his eyes on you. So you are anyway having a nice, comfortable Lanka. You have got all the luxuries. You have taken so many people's wives. You are already surrounded by enough ladies around you. They say Lanka was a Stri Vanam, filled with ladies of all kinds. In Sundarakandam, Hanuman says, he says, my advice to you is go back, ask people like Vibhishana and other ministers who are dharmatmas. There are not many in your kingdom, but there are a few. Ask them, make a count of your strengths, weaknesses against Rama, and then do what is right. Okay? He says there is no sin more heinous than coveting another man's wife. Maricha is telling Ravana. So have you not already taken thousands of women for your wives? But Ravana is in no mood for advice. Ravana says, I did not come here to ask you for advice. And the role of a good minister is not to give free advice unless asked for. I came here to tell you what you should be doing, and you cannot scare me. Okay? Your life may be at risk if you go to him, but I can tell you, with me, if you do not agree, it's a guaranteed death at my own hands. And Maricha, you have eaten my salt. You've been in my kingdom. I have fed you. You've been under my regime and protection. And for all that, as a subject, forget as my uncle. As a subject, you have a duty to me. So I am not asking you at this stage, as the king, whether I should or should not. That decision I have already taken. I am only telling you what you need to do now in your role as a subject. Maricha decided. He says, you know what? I would rather be killed at your hands, by Rama's bow, than come here and be killed by you. I'm going to now take it. So he adopts a magnificent, marvelous appearance. He's one of the most beautiful deers you can imagine. Golden spots, extremely fascinating. Does not feel like the other deers in terms of its captivating looks. Body was speckled with spots, like almost every kind of a gem. And then that Rakshasa comes again. You can imagine he's not really near, Panchavati where Rama, Lakshmana, Sita are, but from wherever he is kind of traveling and manages to make his way through his appearance out there. Now, he would take a sudden leap. He's trying to somehow roam around that ashrama, trying to catch Sita's attention. Sita's in the kitchen, she's going from this room to other room. And obviously he does not want to stay there very long. So just enough to catch her glance. And when Sita comes out to pluck some flowers, she sees that deer. She has not seen anything. They've been around for almost 13 years in the forest, and she has not seen some an animal or any sight like this, and they've seen such beautiful flowers, trees, animals, everything, but she has not seen one like this. Her eyes were wonderstruck. And then she immediately calls Rama and Lakshmana and says, "See this beautiful deer. I have not seen it. The deer is running around here. And there, I would like to have this deer, preferably like as a pet, but if not, even as the skin of the deer would be really nice. A takeaway gift from Dandaka back to, we put fridge magnets. She wanted to have deer skin. So she said, I want to have something that I can take with me." Rama says, okay, I think we should be fine, can do that. He has never asked anything in all these years. He has never asked anything. But Lakshmana says, I smell, it doesn't look right to me. Right? He says, I think this deer is a Rakshasa, because this is one of the reasons. See this deer with the other deers. Because any animal, say we all have a rupa, right? We have a certain form, etc. But we also have a swarupa, which is our real nature. So, for example, when Mahavishnu took the Varaha avatar as a boar, he did not say, "I am actually God, but I am just appearing like a boar." So all other boars were also coming around him. They could feel like he was a boar. Whereas here, Maricha was only externally in the guise of a deer, but inside his Swarupa, he was very clear he's a Rakshasa. And that the other deers could sense it. So even when they came near this deer, they would soon run away from it. So he says this is very unlikely, because any animal that is in the forest would not, other animals would come attracted. This is the only one where it is not happening that easy. All other animals are running away. I don't think this is a proper deer, because why would the other animals run away, other deers run away? But then Sita, the more Lakshmana would push back, Sita got more and more firm. She says, "This lovely deer has stolen my heart. Please bring it. It will be our plaything. What a shape! What a luster! Even its sound is captivating. With its picturesque body, it has taken my heart captive. When we are back in the kingdom, this deer will prove to be a jewel adorning the inner quarters." So Rama hears them both, and he says, "You know what, Lakshmana? Sita has never asked for anything. I think I should go and get it. But even let's say your argument is valid, even for a minute, let's assume your argument is valid. I have given my promise to the rishis that I will completely free this Dandaka of all the Rakshasas. And just like Agastya killed Vatapi, we heard that story last time in one of the earlier classes. In that same way, this Rakshasa will also meet his match through me. You keep an eye on Valmeehi. You make sure you don't move around, because we know we have, after the Janasthana battle, those Rakshasas are not sitting quietly." Saying, so the moment Rama says this, almost like Maricha could hear, and he starts sprinting, right? So they are in Nasik somewhere. Maricha started sprinting, Rama is running behind. Okay? And that whole chase is almost like a hide and seek, because suddenly he's visible, suddenly he's not. And Rama is also running around. He's tired occasionally, he's waiting, but Maricha is just taking him in and into the forest. After a certain while, Rama realizes that this doesn't feel right, because Rama he's not an ordinary warrior, and this deer is just, when it feels like it is within reach, it manages to escape. Rama says, "I think maybe Lakshmana was right, something is wrong." Finally, he takes his arrow and he shoots, and he kind of shoots the deer. At that stage, Maricha assumes his real form, and just before dying, he remembers his promise he has made to Ravana of how he's going, what duty he has to do, and he starts shouting, "Hey Sita, Ha Lakshmane," in almost Rama's voice. Right? Now, that voice happens, and then suddenly Rama, for the first time, feels, "Oh my God, something now seems really amiss," because that voice has gone really loud from there in the forest. He says, "I hope Sita and Lakshmana don't get disturbed by seeing this." Okay? Now, by that time, when that sound comes, Sita already, she's anticipating, it wouldn't take Rama so long to come back with the deer, but he's already disturbed. And then she says, "Lakshmana, did you hear that? Looks like Rama is in trouble. Now you have to please go and check what might be happening." But then Lakshmana says, "No, mother, don't worry. You have seen Rama. He's handled 14,000 Rakshasas. I'm 100% sure that this cannot be Rama's voice. you just wait here and Rama will soon be coming either with that deer as you had asked or with that Rakshasa, but nothing will happen. By then Sita was so anxious, she says, Saumitre Mitra Rupena, Mitra Rupa, you are disguised, Rupa of a Mitra, of a brother, of a friend. Bhratrus Tvamasi Shatruvat, you are actually an enemy. Okay, because she has been trying to tell him a few times and he is just holding firm to say, Rama has asked me not to leave this place, I can't. So now in that state of anger, she starts to say things that were unspeakable. She says, you are actually your brother's enemy, disguised as a friend. Okay. He says, Ichchasi tvam vinashyantam. Who's vinashyantam? Ramam Lakshmana matkrite, lobhatvam matkrite nunam, nanu gacchasi raghavam. He says, you want to see Rama perish. All this while you have been acting as someone who's serving us, who's taking care of us, but deep inside, your intention has been to covet me. That is why you are not following Raghava. Lakshmana, they say, has never even seen Sita. He has never lifted his eyes above Sita's feet. And he says, in spite of hearing these, he says, Rama cannot be killed in a fight, mother, period. You shall not speak like this. I cannot leave you alone in this vana without Rama here. Your husband will come soon. It is clearly faked by someone. It is the make of a Rakshasa, just like that deer was the make of a Rakshasa. It's like a city created by a magician. Mother, don't worry. But Sita by then had, as they say, we all have a certain intelligence, but it is like a software, right? So just like when our computer starts to hang sometimes, that software is there, but we cannot access it. The whole system is frozen. In the same way, when anger or fear or desire takes over our intelligence, they say that is not accessible to us anymore. Right? The same person who would have been otherwise very calm and measured, when that system gets hung by these viruses in a way, we cannot accept. So she says, I am going to give my life right in front of you. If you don't go, I will be giving up my life. I would not live on the surface of this earth even for a moment without Rama. So, hearing that, Lakshmana decides there is no scope for him. Lakshmana says there is no scope, there is nothing that he can do right now because he has no choice but to leave. And he says, Swasti testu varanane. He says, I hope all is well with you, mother. I will go to where Kakusta is. Gamishye yatra kakutstaha. Swasti testu varanane. Rakshantu tvam vishalakshi samagra vanadevata. Oh Vanadevata, all the devatas of this forest, please may you protect this lady of wide eyes. He says, O Vaidehi, O daughter of Janaka, he now addresses her like this. Nimittani cha ghorani yani pradur bhavanti me. He says, I can already see fateful omens, baleful omens coming within me. And he says, I don't know whether when I come back, will I see you again with Raghava. He says, Na vetyantre na janami Vaidehi janakatmite. He says, I feel that when I come back, I don't know if I will see you. But Sita is in no mood. She says, I will drink poison, and she's just almost beating her belly with her own hands. Such is her anguish. So Lakshmana says, I cannot wait here anymore, and he immediately rushes towards Rama out of despair. And they say the moment he left, Ravana is almost waiting in the side wings for this scene to happen, and it's almost instant. He's gone, and in a few seconds from there, Ravana appears in the form of a sannyasi. He's got saffron robes, matted hair, vibhuti all over him, and he's coming with his kamandalu and coming towards Sita. He's holding an umbrella, and Ravana starts praising Sita. He says, Ka tvam kanchana varnabhe pita kausheya vasini kamalanam shubham malam padminiva hi vibrati. Who are you of such golden complexion, clad in yellow silks? You are wearing this beautiful garland of lotus flowers. You are like the lotus pool itself. Are you by any chance the goddess of modesty? Yeah, I'll come to that. The goddess of fame? Are you a goddess of prosperity, or are you Mahalakshmi herself? And look at the way an Asura, a Rakshasa, a sage, supposedly a Brahmana or a sage is described. You have a lovely smile, lovely teeth. You should not live like this here, where the dreaded Rakshasas who can take any form at will live. But Vaidehi at that time, she's already disturbed by Ravana going, and of course when a Brahmana comes, it's not optional in those days whether you serve or not. So she is just looking at him as a Brahmana. She makes him sit, offers him water. Now in some folklores and some tales we have heard of this concept of a Lakshman Rekha, that Lakshmana draws a line and he should not come in. Valmeehi makes no mention. In fact, there is no mention of a Lakshman Rekha in most other Ramayanas that we are aware of. In the Ramcharitmanas, later on, Mandodari tells Ravana something along the lines of, did you know that you could not even cross that line Lakshmana drawn? But in Valmeehi Ramayanam, there is no mention of any Lakshman Rekha. That is all, I think, later interpretations and creativity, and it has become, for movies, etc., it's a good thing. Oh, he was trying to cross, there was fire in there. But none of those things Lakshmana has done. But then he asks who are you, and she describes the whole story. She says, I am princess of Videha, Janaka's daughter, I was married, all the story she is telling him. And then she says, who are you, Brahmana? And then immediately Ravana says, O Sita, I am the lord of the Rakshasas, my name is Ravana. And he comes to the point, having seen you, I am no more able to find pleasure in my wives. I have got hundreds of wives, but I cannot see any pleasure in any of them. You come, you be my chief queen among my many wives that I have brought from everywhere. They got assorted from different places. You come and you will be with the chief queen. That's the first time it hits her as to what is he saying. And Sita, who so far in all these years we have seen her as a mild-mannered, loving, very calm lady, first time anger starts to come. She says, and a whole series of verses with this thing, how she says, I am devoted to my husband Rama. Aham Rama Manuvrata. She says, that Rama who is comparable to the great Indra, Sarva Lakshana Sampannam. He bears all the marks of human excellence. He is a lion among men. Which is, who are you, Ravana? You are like a jackal, right? And what is the difference between you and Raghava? She'll say that again later. She says it's like the difference is like between a rivulet or a small stream and an ocean. It is the difference between lead and gold. The difference between crow and Garuda is the difference between you and my Raghava. And she says, with a wicked and cruel king like you, I'm sure all the Rakshasas are going to perish. But Ravana by now, he does not want to wait anymore. He's tired of all this. He claps his hand, assumes his real form with all the 10 heads and makes his body grow to a giant size. Okay? And then he says, in no time, this younger brother of Vaishravana gave up this agreeable and gentle form of the mendicant and took his original form where he resembled almost Yamadev. Okay? His eyes blood red, he looked like a black cloud, ornaments made of gold purified in fire. He now attained a weird splendor. He grabs Sita by her hair with his left hand and immediately takes her away. And he's saying, Sita is now crying. She says, Ha Lakshmana Mahabahu Guru Chitta Prasadaka Riyamanam Najanishe Rakshasa Mama Marshina. He says, Oh Lakshmana, you are so intent to please your brother. Do you not know I am being carried off by an enraged Rakshasa? And then she starts to cry all around nature because there is no way she can escape. Right? He is now taken her, putting her in his Pushpaka Vimanam. She starts saying, Oh Karnikara Bushes, Oh Godavari Nadi, Oh Devatas. He says, and finally she says, Yani Kani Chidapyatra Satvani Nivasat Satyut. I beg each and every creature that lives here, however small, each and every bird, animal, please tell my husband who loves me, who holds me dearer than life, that I am helplessly being carried off by Ravana. And we'll see later now in a while when Rama comes back that he's also going to make all the same plea to nature around, have you seen? And finally, as she's going, she sees Jatayu as well, who's sleeping. And she remembers Jatayu says, Jatayo Pashyamamadhya Riyamana Manatavat Anena Rakshasendrena Karunam Papa Karmana. Oh Jatayu, look at me in this pitiful flight. I'm being carried off like an orphan by this evil of Rakshasas. Okay? So the moment Jatayu hears this, and we'll kind of shorter time, just quickly skim through some of the portions, go through in a bit more detail. The moment Jatayu hears this, the other creatures, nobody comes, but Jatayu, because they say they are actually scared of Ravana. But Jatayu comes there and says, Ravana, I'm much older than you, and I'm now advising you, not just as a contemporary or a peer, but almost as an elder, that don't do this, and you have no idea of my strength. I can fight with you. And he starts to actually fight with Ravana, and Ravana ultimately takes off his sword and chops off Jatayu's wings. Jatayu falls down. Sita's coming, hugging Jatayu, crying. But Ravana again pulls her back and takes her away straight past all of that forest into Lanka. Meanwhile, by that time, Lakshmana has been running towards the forest. He meets Rama halfway, and they say that because a lot of these places in that happened in Ramayana have all been chronicled different places. We said Panchavati, Chitrakoot. They say the place where Maricha has been killed is actually roughly 600 kilometers away from Panchavati, almost near Karnataka somewhere. Now that's a little bit difficult for us to imagine as to, did Maricha run that much? Did Rama run that much? If he shouted from 600 kilometers away, did they hear? But there is no mention, there is no place in and around Maharashtra in that area that says Maricha died or this happened. But there is a place, I forget the name of that place, but it is there, we can find it, where they say this incident happened. So the only possibility is maybe in those days, the human, like we see, sometimes some of these people in Africa, they are so tall and they can run much faster. So in those days, it must be that people were able to run 200-300 miles an hour, may not have been unreasonable. But anyway, all of that has happened. Lakshmana meets Rama, and Rama says, why are you here? I had asked you to be with Sita. Lakshmana is not able to describe too much, but he says, I could not stay there. Sita was so concerned that she asked me to come. Rama understands what has happened, and he says, now let's rush back. As they come back, they can already see that place now has a very different look to how they had left it. They start looking, the ashrama is in, is already seeing places fallen down. They can see, the birds out there, everything is quiet, the trees are almost numb. And they come, and Rama is for the first time panic stricken as to what has really happened. And he starts crying around. He says, Sita, Sita, he's wailing and trying to ask. Lakshmana is looking around, oh Janaki, oh Vaidi, they're all looking around. And Rama is also asking, just like Sita had said, oh Karnikara, oh trees, oh Vanadevata, oh Godavari, did you see any signs? But there is no response from anything. And finally, as they are walking around, they see Jatayu. Jatayu, that vulture, they say, as a vulture, most other birds would at least eat, things that are fallen down or, fruits, etc. As a vulture, they are a scavenger. So it's almost eating carcasses, right? So if you were to actually think of it from an evolution perspective, the vulture is not even like a regular bird, because it is eating the carcass of dead creatures. So that bird Rama looks at and he says, Jatayu, and Jatayu finally says, sorry Rama, I tried to fight. It was that Ravana who took off with Sita, and he has gone in his Pushpaka Vimanam. I saw him there. I tried my best to fight, but unfortunately I was no match for him with my age, and ultimately I'm out here. So I know I told you I will take care of her just like my own daughter or my daughter-in-law, but I have not been able to keep my promise. And Rama there effectively does the last rites for Jatayu, and this is Jatayu gets moksham. Even though we say moksham is only for humans, other creatures cannot. In this case, a scavenger, not even like a regular bird or a devoted bird or anything, a scavenger, because of the one act of Kainkaryam that Jatayu did for the Lord in that avatar, Jatayu gets moksham through Rama's hand. We'll see that in a bit more detail in the next class. So Sita has been taken over in the Pushpaka Viman towards Lanka. Rama and Lakshmana are in despair. They've been looking all around. The only clue they have now gotten is from Jatayu, that she has been taken over, and they've lost. Again, Jatayu was like a father figure. Rama could not be present with his own father during his final rites. So almost in that capacity of a father, he performs the last rite. Jatayu moksham happens. And we'll see how Rama from here proceeds without any further support to be able to get and find Sita. We'll do the closing prayers now. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.